It was a Thursday night when she said it, words so sharp they carved through me like glass. Your touch bothers me. Move away. For a few seconds I just stood there, frozen, my hand still halfway between us. The living room light flickered over her face, but there was no warmth in her eyes, only exhaustion, maybe even disgust. We'd been married for 6 years, but in that moment, I felt like a stranger intruding in my own home. Her name was Lena. She used to melt into my arms every night, back when love meant comfort instead of obligation. But lately she had become distant, her smile forced, her hugs mechanical. I told myself she was just stressed, that she needed space, that this coldness was temporary. I was wrong. That night something inside me cracked. I looked at her, searching for any sign that she didn't mean what she just said. But she didn't even look up. She just scrolled through her phone like my presence annoyed her. You heard me, she added flatly. Just stop hovering, okay? I need room to breathe. I nodded slowly. Room to breathe, I repeated. Got it. Then I walked upstairs, packed a small bag, and left the house without another word. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just disappeared quietly, completely. For 2 days I stayed in a small motel outside the city. No calls. No messages. Nothing. I expected maybe she'd notice, maybe she'd text once or twice. But my phone stayed silent. I lay awake each night staring at the ceiling, wondering how a marriage could die so quietly. On the 3rd day something strange happened. Around midnight my phone buzzed. Once, twice, then 10 times. Missed calls, all from Lena. I stared at the screen, my heart caught between anger and hope. Then came the text. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? Please just pick up. By morning the missed calls had crossed 50. That's when I knew. The silence that once comforted her had finally started to suffocate her. But it was too late. I didn't feel the same ache anymore. Her desperation didn't heal the wound she created. It only reminded me how empty I'd felt when she told me to move away. When you finally walk away from someone who took your presence for granted, their panic always comes too late. By the time I returned home a few days later, the place felt different, too clean, too quiet, as if she tried to scrub away my existence. My mug was missing from the counter. My jacket, which always hung near the door, was gone. Even the faint scent of my cologne that lingered in the hallway had vanished. Lena was sitting on the couch, her eyes red and swollen. When she saw me she froze, then stood up too quickly. You didn't even tell me you were leaving, she said in a shaky voice. Do you have any idea what you put me through? I looked at her for a long moment. You told me my touch bothered you, I replied calmly. So I figured my absence would help you breathe better. Her lips trembled. She wanted to argue but she couldn't. She sat back down, burying her face in her hands. I didn't mean it like that, she murmured. I was angry, tired. I don't know. I just wanted space. You didn't ask for space, Lena, I said quietly. You pushed me out. There was silence. The same kind that used to fill our house every night before I left. Only now it felt heavier, filled with guilt instead of indifference. Over the next few days she tried to make things right. She cooked my favorite meals. She laughed at jokes that weren't funny. She sent long messages during the day, the kind she hadn't sent in months. But something had shifted in me. The part of me that used to chase her affection was gone. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just empty. One night she tried to hug me. I didn't move. Her arms hesitated midair before she let them drop to her sides. You're really not coming back to me, are you? She whispered. I looked at her, this woman who had once been my entire world, and said, You taught me how to leave, Lena. You just didn't think I'd learn so fast. Tears filled her eyes, but I didn't stay to see them fall. I walked out again, this time without my bag, without hesitation. Because when someone tells you that your presence is a burden, disappearing becomes the kindest thing you can do, for both of you. By the time her calls started again that night, another flood of missed numbers lighting up my phone, I simply turned it off. She had her space now, and I had my peace. Weeks passed before I heard from Lena again. By then I'd moved into a small apartment downtown, started running in the mornings, and found a kind of silence that no longer hurt. My life had narrowed down to simplicity. Black coffee, early walks, quiet nights. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe without needing anyone's permission. Then one evening as I came home from work, I found her waiting at my door. Her hair was messy, her eyes hollow, and her hands clutched a small paper bag. I didn't know where else to go, she said softly. I didn't move closer. Why are you here, Lena? She looked up at me with that desperate kind of sadness, the one people wear when they finally realize what they destroyed. Because I messed up, she said, her voice trembling. You were the only one who ever truly cared about me, and I pushed you away. I thought freedom would make me feel alive. Instead, it just made me feel empty. Her words should have made me feel something. They didn't. I wasn't cold or cruel, just detached, like her apology had arrived in another lifetime. I'm not angry anymore, I said quietly. But I can't go back. You taught me what it feels like to be unwanted. I can't forget that every time I look at you. She nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. I deserve that, she whispered. I hoped maybe we could start again. I sighed and opened the door slightly, not for her to come in, but to hand back the bag she'd dropped. Inside were small reminders of our past. The wedding photo, my old watch, a note she'd once written me on our anniversary. Keep them, I said. Those belong to who we were, not who we are. She didn't argue. She just looked at me one last time, like she was memorizing my face before letting go. Then she turned and walked down the hall, her footsteps fading into the distance. That night, I sat by the window watching the city lights. My phone buzzed once, her final message. I hope you find someone who never flinches at your touch. I smiled faintly and turned the screen off, because the truth was I had already found someone myself. Sometimes, vanishing isn't about revenge or teaching someone a lesson. It's about finally realizing that peace isn't something another person can give you. It's what begins when you stop chasing those who can't love you right. End.